Hello, it's White Tornado with Geek Funk Labs, and I'm here to tell you about FluidPatcher. FluidPatcher is the code that I wrote for the Squishbox, my Raspberry Pi powered MIDI sound module. It's also what I use in my video on making a headless Raspberry Pi synthesizer. Now, FluidPatcher also has a desktop version which will run on Windows, Mac, or Linux, and you can use it on those platforms to create patches and edit and test them. But it can also remotely link to a Squishbox or Raspberry Pi synthesizer, so you can easily edit and test the patches there. FluidPatcher is a wrapper around FluidSynth, which is a very good open source cross-platform sound font-based synthesizer. Sound fonts are a file format and a protocol for doing sample-based synthesis. It's got an open specification so anyone can understand it, and they're easy to create on your own, and there's a lot of them available for free. The FluidSynth is a very versatile synthesizer engine, but it's controlled using a command line interface. There are lots of wrappers and graphical front ends that have been written to help you use FluidSynth, but all the ones I've tried are kind of cumbersome to use in performance, and I feel like they also didn't give me access to all the settings and things that I wanted to do to customize FluidSynth. Now, FluidPatcher is yet another wrapper around FluidSynth, but it's designed with performance and customization in mind. It allows the user to create combinations of sound fonts, FluidSynth settings, and effects that are grouped into patches, which are stored in human-readable and editable text files. Because it's Python, it works on many different platforms. I originally wrote it for the Squishbox, but I quickly realized that having a graphical version that worked on a lot of different platforms and sounded the same would be useful for creating and testing new patches. Soon after that, I realized that same graphical version could connect to the Squishbox or a Raspberry Pi and control it directly and edit the patches right there on the device.
FluidPatcher needs Python 3 to run, so download and install it from their website, python.org, if you don't already have it on your system. It also requires a few non-standard packages, but these are easy to install at the command line with the pip utility that's included with Python. Check the README included with the FluidPatcher code for how to do this on your specific system. You'll also need to install FluidSynth. If you're using the Windows executable installer for FluidPatcher, it also includes one of the latest versions of FluidSynth, but it's easy to obtain on other platforms as well, usually using command line tools. Again, you can check the README with FluidPatcher for how to do this. To start the desktop program, just double-click the wxfluidpatcher.py script, or double-click the icon the installer created if you use that. The program has a very simple text editor-like interface. It automatically loads the default bank, and then connects to any MIDI controllers you have plugged in. You can switch between patches using these buttons, or choose a patch from the drop-down menu. And then you can play on your controller to hear what the patch is. If you modify the contents of the bank file, you can press the refresh button to read your changes and hear what they sound like. You can look at the wiki on GitHub for info about how to structure these bank files. The online help option in the help menu will take you directly to this wiki, and I'm also making a short series of lesson videos to help you along. The file menu lets you load and save bank files. It also has this tool for opening a single sound font and browsing through all its presets so you can hear what they sound like before adding them to a patch. The Tools menu has tools to tell you about the MIDI controllers and plugins available on your system. It also lets you access and edit the configuration file for FluidPatcher, where you can change some global settings and effects. The wiki will also help you understand how to format this file.
This desktop version of FluidPatcher is a perfectly capable patch synthesizer all by itself. You could run it on a laptop and plug in some MIDI controllers, and then experiment with sounds or even use it to play live.
Finally, in the Tools menu, there's the Remote Link option. This lets you connect over a network to a Squishbox or headless Raspberry Pi running FluidPatcher and control it remotely. To connect, you need the IP address of your device. On the Squishbox, this is as simple as holding the left button for the options menu, then choosing Wi-Fi settings. You'll also need to turn on the remote link as it's disabled by default for security. Headless Raspberry Pi is a little bit trickier. You could look at your router's Wi-Fi settings, just seeing what IP address it connected as. Or, if you log into the Raspberry Pi remotely, you can type in the command hostname-i to get the IP address. To connect, choose Remote Link and enter the IP address you found. Leave the port number as is. Click OK, and now you're connected. The MIDI controllers connected to your local machine are disabled, and now changes you make here affect your remote device. You can change the patches, save and load banks, and even browse through the sound fonts to hear the sounds on your device. If you make a change to the bank in the desktop program, you can refresh to send the changes to your device and hear what they sound like. This makes it much easier to create and test patches on your device when you don't have a screen and keyboard connected to it.
I hope this has shown you how FluidPatcher can be of use to you as a performance tool or in creating your own unique sounds. Keep an eye out for more videos like this on how to get the most out of FluidPatcher. And if you want more information, you can always head over to geekfunklabs.com. Stay funky!